Today, I'm going to show you guys how to create a 3-in-1 stacked Instagram Reel video like this one. Why stacked video grids, you ask? It's simple. This style of video engages viewers by drawing their eyes to multiple focal points, enticing them to watch your video not once, but several times. They want to catch all the details. It's like a mini challenge for your viewer, and it's proven to increase audience engagement. Plus, it's a fantastic way to display multiple properties or feature a home's selling points all at once. Before we break down the process in CapCut, here are a couple quick preparation tips. Number 1, plan your content before shooting. Map out what you want in each grid. For instance, if you're showing a kitchen, choose a wide shot and then several detailed shots of that area to display in all of the other grids. Remember, each grid should be compelling on its own, but also contribute to the whole picture. Number 2, make sure that you shoot in 4K, 60 frames per second, so you have the ability to slow down the footage. And number 3, shoot the interior clips of the home in landscape. In other words, make sure that you have your phone or your camera on a gimbal, much like this. This is going to maximize the quality and ensure a wider focal length for your shots. Link to this DJI Osmo Mobile 6 gimbal in the description. Remember, the aim here is to encourage your audience to watch the video more than once, drawing their eyes to different grids with each view. This technique is not only engaging, but it also boosts your video's watch time and views, which, as we know it, is a big plus for the various social media algorithms. So now that we got that out of the way, make sure that you go ahead and hit the subscribe button while I head into CapCut and show you guys how this is done. Okay, so I am in a new project inside of the CapCut desktop app. I will say, quick life hack: if you put all of your footage into folders before you import it into CapCut, you're going to end up in a situation like this where you have everything separated and organized the way that you want it right from the jump inside of CapCut. So for me, I like to go ahead and put all of my footage in and separate it by room. That way I can work on one room at a time. That's my own personal preference. All right, so now that I have everything imported, the first thing I want to do is I want to create my in and out points on all my footage. So the way that you do that is either by dragging these handles here, or by just selecting I on my keyboard for the in point and then O on the keyboard for the out point. And just as a refresher, an in and out point on your footage is basically the usable part of your footage of each clip, because you don't want to drop the whole clip down onto the timeline, because that's just going to add unnecessary cutting that needs to take place. So I only like to add the part of the clip that I'm actually going to use. So here I'm going to go ahead and drop my first clip down onto the timeline. The aspect ratio of the entire project is going to match that first clip. So in this particular case, I shot this first clip in a 9:16 aspect ratio, so portrait style. So that's going to be the aspect ratio of my entire sequence. If, for instance, I would bring in this other clip first, or a clip that was shot in a 16:9, I would have to go down here to ratio. I'd have to select that, and then I would have to change that to 9:16. Okay, so let me show you guys how to create these stacked cinematic 3-in-1 videos. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the dining room. As I click on that, first thing I wanna do is I wanna create my in and out points here for this footage on all these clips. And once I've created my in and out points, I wanna go ahead and drag these down onto the timeline. So notice that I drug them down onto the timeline and I stacked them on top of each other. Now what I want to do is I'm going to move my playhead to right where my main first intro clip ends and where my stacked video is going to begin. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use this playhead as kind of a buffer here to line all the clips up. Since the clips are on a magnetic timeline, if I have this playhead here, and you'll see when I zoom in, each one of these clips is gonna line right up to the edge. So once you have your clips lined up, you're gonna highlight all your clips, and you're gonna go to the upper right where it says speed, click speed, and then you're gonna slow the footage down to 0.5x speed, or 50%. This is gonna make sure that the footage is smooth and in slow motion, much like you see professional videographers do in their videos. So once we have it slowed down, all you really got to do here is you can select your clip, or you can just go up here to the actual sequence and you can just grab the clip and you can just start dragging it up, and you can grab the next clip and you can drag it down. Now notice that there's actually a black bar in between each clip. Some people like the way that that looks. You can even drop a background down as your bottom clip, and you can make that background white or whatever color you want, and that will go ahead and make these lines whatever color you prefer to have. Now me personally, I like each clip to line right up to the next clip. So what I like to do is I like to select the clip, go up to the upper right under basic and go to scale and move this to 106%. I've just noticed that 106% is the perfect size for each clip to make sure that they line up perfectly so that there's no space between them. So you'll see I moved it to 106%, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and line these clips up at the top and bottom. They're moving in slow motion, they're looking smooth. All right, so now that I have my first set of clips on the timeline, the next step for me is to add my audio. Here is a royalty-free song that I chose for the purposes of this video. Once you add the audio, you want to go up to AI, select AI, and then select beat 1. There's always going to be 2 options for beats. You'll see here beat 2 is a much quicker beat. Each one of these yellow dots represents a beat in the song. I'm going to use AI beat 1. That's going to add a much slower beat. And then we want to make sure that we cut the rest of the video to the beats of the song. What I like to do is I like to take my playhead, move that right in between where that intro meets the first set of clips in the song. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little closer so we can make sure it's lined up perfectly. And then I want to make sure that the first beat lines up perfectly with that playhead. There you have it. You'll see when it's lined up with the playhead, that yellow dot actually grows a little bit just to show you that it's lined up perfectly. So now when that first beat drops in a song is when we will go from this intro clip to the interior shots of the home. Next, we want to make sure that our clips are lined up and they end at this next beat. So I like to zoom way in, move my playhead to the next yellow dot, which represents a beat in the song, and then go ahead and shrink these clips so that they line up perfectly with that beat. Keep in mind too, if you have audio recorded with your interior clips of the home, you want to make sure that you turn down the audio all the way so that you can't hear any of that audio over the music. Now we're going to bring in our next set of clips. So I will go to the living room and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to make sure that I have my in and out points selected, and then I'm going to begin dragging these down onto the timeline. Once I have them on the timeline, I'll go ahead and highlight them all and slow them down here by going up to the upper right, selecting speed and dropping it down to 0.5x. And now you want to follow the same process. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the clips. I'm going to go up to scale. I'm going to move them all to 106%. And then I'm going to start dragging these where I want them. So now you'll see it goes from these clips of the dining room and transitions flawlessly into these clips of the living room. Keep in mind that you don't have to do just 3 clips. You can actually do as many clips as will fit. You can do 4 or 5, or you can just do 2. Sometimes you'll see me do 2. So let me just show you really quick how I would do that. Is you can go ahead and you can just reframe these and change the size by dragging them, right? And you can make sure that it fits up like 50% of the sequence. If this is your preference, you can also drag it from this side and scale it up. And now you'll see here that we only have 2. Transitions from 3 directly into 2. Okay, so now that I've showed you guys how to stack these clips, I'll show you guys how I would finish this up. So what I would do is I would make sure that I have the audio correct here on this intro clip. So I want to make sure that I select my music, and then I go over to this dot here on the left side and I drag that. That's gonna make it so the music fades in. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the clip of myself and I'm gonna increase the audio to make sure that you can hear me speaking. This one-story villa by Creative Homes here in Louisville. One of the things I love about this style video is that it will make it so a video that would have been 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes long, you can actually condense them to like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, so you have a much shorter video. So your viewer knows that they're not committing to a full 2 minutes of viewing your video, but at the same time, because they're too focused on maybe just one clip at a time, they'll go back there and they might look at this clip and say, man, that was a really nice chandelier, but then they're gonna say, well, wait a second. where was that chandelier? Was it above the table? You know, what else am I looking at in this clip? And then they're gonna wanna go back and view that video again. Okay, so then last thing I'll do here is I will add a transition here between this intro clip and my first set of clips. So what I do is I go up to transition, go ahead and put my playhead right in between those clips. Go to transition. I like to use one that's called pull in. It's a free transition inside of here. And this is basically just a zoom. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and download this one and then hit the plus sign, and it will do this pull in effect as you go into the house. Notice that the pull in effect is only on one of 3 of the clips here. And the reason for that is obviously because they're stacked on top of each other. What you can do to get around that, if you decide to pull right into this stacked 3-in-1 cinematic style reel, is I will highlight all the clips, I'll right click, and then from there I will create a compound clip. And when you do that, they all kind of get nested together. All 3 clips get nested together in one clip, and then you'll see that the effect is applied to all the clips. So let's take a quick look. Without further ado, let's check out the finished video. If you're looking for one level living in a fully association maintained community, well, check out this 1-story villa by Homes here in Woodbury. And there you have it. You're now equipped to create your own engaging real estate video grids. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in the basics of editing a real estate video in the CapCut desktop app, make sure you watch this video right here.